Have you ever tried to let someone go? Not because they weren't important, but because holding on was destroying you? You say you want to forget. You tell yourself you're ready to move on. But then why does your heart still leap every time your phone lights up? Why do you secretly hope it's them, even after all the pain they caused you? Let's be honest. You don't really miss that person. You miss who you thought they were. You miss the version of them your heart invented, the one who understood you, loved you back, saw you. But that version never truly existed outside of your mind. What you loved was not the person but the projection, an illusion shaped by your deepest needs. Carl Jung warned us, what we do not face in ourselves, we will encounter as fate. And that might be exactly what's happening to you. This pain you carry, it's not just a heartbreak. It's a mirror, a brutal, unfiltered mirror reflecting the part of you that you've been avoiding. The part that's still hungry for love, still craving approval, still begging not to be abandoned. This video is not going to give you empty self-help cliches or ask you to simply move on. That's not healing. That's denial. Instead, we're going to walk straight into the fire, to confront the wound, not cover it. Because the truth is, what we often call love is really the shadow's cry for recognition. It's not your heart that's in love. It's your wounds. Your unconscious is holding on because it believes that pain is the only way to stay connected to something. Anything. Let that sink in. So if you've ever stayed in a relationship that was tearing you apart, if you've ever found yourself craving the validation of someone who gave you nothing but silence or crumbs of affection, know this: it was never really about them. It was about something inside you. Something that believes you're only worthy when someone else chooses you. Jung understood that romantic relationships are rarely about romance. They're mirrors. We don't see the other person. We see our unmet needs, our repressed desires, our forgotten dreams. We project our inner void onto them, hoping they'll fill it. We crown them as saviors, then crumble when they act like ordinary humans. And when they inevitably fall short, we don't just feel rejected, we feel shattered. Because they weren't just someone we loved. They were the symbol of our wholeness. Losing them feels like losing ourselves. But that's the illusion. What you lost was not your other half. It was your hope that someone outside of you could finally fix what's broken inside. And this is where your healing begins. Not by getting over them, but by coming back to yourself. In the next part, we'll dive into why you keep molding yourself to be lovable, why you silence your truth just to avoid abandonment, and how this very pattern is the trap that keeps you stuck in emotional dependency. But first, take a breath. You're not broken. You're waking up. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. How much of yourself have you edited just to be loved? You tone yourself down so you're not too much. You agree when you disagree. You laugh at jokes that sting. You apologize just to keep the peace, even when your soul is screaming. But here's the truth. Love that demands you shrink yourself is not love. It's control disguised as affection. And the scariest part? Most of us learned this very young. Maybe you had to earn love in your family by being quiet, helpful, perfect. Maybe your feelings were dismissed as dramatic, or your boundaries labeled selfish. So, little by little, you buried your real self under layers of what others wanted from you. Now, as an adult, you repeat the same cycle. You attract people who echo your earliest wounds. Not because you're broken, but because your unconscious is trying to resolve the original trauma through repetition. Carl Jung called this the compulsion to repeat. He believed we are drawn, almost magnetically, to situations that recreate our childhood pain, hoping to finally change the ending. But here's the trap. Until you become aware of the pattern, you don't change it. You just suffer through it, again and again. You might find yourself dating someone who withholds affection, just like your emotionally distant parent, or someone who only loves the version of you that performs, pleases, or never says no. And the worst part? You accept it. You rationalize it. You call it chemistry or fate. But deep down, it's a trauma loop. Let me give you an example. Imagine a woman named Leah. She grew up in a home where love was conditional. Her father praised her only when she got straight A's. Her mother only showed affection when Leah played the caretaker role. So she learned, I must earn love. I must never be a burden. Now Leah is in her 30s, and guess what? She's drawn to emotionally unavailable men. Men who make her feel like she has to prove her worth every day. Men who give just enough to keep her hooked, but never enough to make her feel safe. And the more they pull away, the harder she tries. Because her inner child believes, if I can just be perfect enough, maybe this time I won't be left. That's not love. That's survival. If any of this sounds familiar, I want you to pause and ask yourself, when was the first time I felt I had to earn love? That question alone can crack open the pattern. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So let's make it conscious. Let's stop calling emotional starvation passion. Let's stop calling inconsistency mystery. Let's call it what it is. An echo from a time you weren't seen, and a cry for healing. In part 3, we'll dive into the practical tools Jung believed were essential for breaking these unconscious bonds. Inner child work, shadow integration, and the journey back to authenticity. But for now, just sit with this thought. What part of you did you abandon just to be chosen? So, how do we break free from this invisible cage? How do we stop reenacting the same emotional wounds in different costumes? Carl Jung believed that true healing starts with facing the parts of ourselves we've disowned. We all carry a shadow, the unconscious part of the psyche where we bury emotions, traits, and desires we were taught to suppress. Things like anger, neediness, sadness, vulnerability. Not because they're bad, but because someone once told us they were. Maybe your parents told you not to cry. Maybe your culture told you not to want too much. Maybe love meant being agreeable, being quiet, being small. So you locked away your authenticity in exchange for acceptance. But here's the paradox. The very parts you've rejected are the keys to your freedom. When we deny our shadow, we attract people who mirror it. If you suppress your anger, you might attract someone who rages. If you deny your needs, you'll attract someone who neglects them. It's your psyche's way of saying, look, feel, reclaim. So how do we start? One powerful practice is inner child work. That means reconnecting with the version of you who first felt unworthy, unlovable, or too much. You don't fix this child. You listen to them. You validate what they were never allowed to express. You might journal to your younger self. Write down what they needed to hear. You might sit in meditation and imagine holding them close. You might cry for them, for the years they spent believing they had to earn love by erasing themselves. This process isn't just emotional. It's neurological. Studies in neuroplasticity show that revisiting painful memories with new insight can literally rewire your brain's associations. When you comfort that wounded child, you teach your brain a new truth. I am worthy. I don't have to perform to be loved. But healing doesn't stop there. You must also confront the roles you still play, the people pleaser, the fixer, the perfectionist. These personas were your survival tools. They kept you safe. But now they keep you stuck. Every time you say yes when you mean no, your inner child feels abandoned again. Every time you silence your needs to keep someone close, you reinforce the belief that you're not enough as you are. Jung encouraged radical honesty, not just with others, but with yourself. Ask, who am I when I stop performing? What do I feel when I stop pretending? It's terrifying to take off the mask, but it's the only way to find real connection, where love doesn't require a costume, and intimacy doesn't cost your identity. In the next part, we'll explore the final and most difficult step, letting go, not with resentment, but with reverence. Because true release is not about forgetting them. It's about remembering yourself. Letting go doesn't begin with forgetting them. It begins with remembering yourself. And that's the hardest part, isn't it? Because for so long, your identity was entangled with theirs. Your laughter was their presence. Your peace depended on their moods. You became a mirror, not a person. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." If you don't become aware of the invisible contracts you've made, contracts where you agreed to be less, quieter, smaller, just to be loved, then those patterns will keep repeating. Not because you're weak, but because you're loyal. Loyal to your past. Loyal to pain that once felt like love. But here's the truth. Healing doesn't mean you hate them. It means you choose you, even if it hurts. Many people think letting go means cutting someone off overnight. But real letting go is not a sharp, clean break. It's a slow, daily choice. It's unfollowing their ghost in your mind. It's reclaiming your mornings. It's learning to laugh without waiting for permission. It's cooking dinner for one and still lighting a candle. One of the most powerful acts of letting go is reclaiming your rituals. Did you stop dancing when they left? Dance again. Did you stop painting, walking, singing? Bring them back. Every abandoned habit is a breadcrumb on the trail back to yourself. And here's a profound practice. Bless them. Yes, bless the one who hurt you. Not because they deserve it, but because you deserve to be free. When you send them light, even in your mind, you loosen the chains of bitterness. You don't forgive to let them back in, you forgive to move forward. As Jung taught, transformation doesn't come through avoidance, but through confrontation. You must look pain in the eyes and say, "You came to teach me, not to destroy me." Letting go is not forgetting the story. It's rewriting the ending. You were never weak for loving them. You were brave. You were honest. You wanted something real in a world full of pretending. And that desire, that depth, that still belongs to you. So let them go. Not because they didn't matter, but because you finally realized that you do. Now it's your turn to become your own sanctuary. Not waiting for someone else to arrive and validate your worth. Not hoping for an apology that may never come, but choosing moment by moment to be the love you always deserved.